Hello, welcome to Schools Not Out, your daily classroom for CSEC and CAPE students. I am Christopher Humber, your presenter for today. Welcome to Social Studies. If it's dirt, it's dirt, and that's what we're doing today. Today, we're focusing on CSEC Social Studies, roles and responsibilities in the family. Now, the learning objectives for today. The learning objectives for today, at the end of this lesson, all the students in Jamaica and in the cyberspace, which is watching the best station that's educating the nation, so they'll examine the roles, responsibilities among students and adults and siblings and members of the family in the Caribbean. They'll also be able to analyze the factors that lead to the breakdown in family relationships. When we're looking at the family, we're going to realize that there are situations that lead to breakdown. Now, first thing we have is a family praying together. Family that prays together stays together. And once we have this solid foundation, the family can move forward. So I chose this picture to show you that what you're seeing here, you're seeing the entire family. Mother, father, and the children all praying with the little kitty cat. Kitty cat playing all the way. Now, just getting this sorted out. Where's my mouse? Yes. So, the roles and relationships. Now, the status is very important in roles and relationships in the family. If a family doesn't know its role and each member don't know the roles they're to play, some of the roles, sometimes there can be multiple roles within the family. And that's what we're going to look on today. That we're going to explain some of these multiple roles and responsibilities that they play in the family. And we can use this to describe what's going on and what we're missing in our society today. If we study this, hopefully we'll get to understand the family better. Now, the next slide we'll look at. Our status in the family will determine the role we have to play. Every individual occupies a position. Mother, father, yes, have to use a little cartoon because we have what we call tactile learners, people who learn more from what they see, feel, hear, and touch. So the mother got a role, the father got a role, the daughter, the son. But sometimes mother and father play husband and wife. You can see that children learn that from an early stage when they play house. Some girls play the little dolly house, some boys play the house with them at times. And that's what they also learn. Now, what's your role in the family? We must all know our role in society, but in the family, very important role. Which position do you occupy in the family? Are you confused because you realize that you occupy multiple positions? You shouldn't be really confused because of these multiple positions that you occupy, because sometimes the multiple positions that you occupy in the family lead you to diversify and multitask, and that is needed in our society today. As a son or daughter, you're going to realize that you have different roles. In Jamaica, we realize that what they do, the boys that are encouraged to go out and play, the girls play home, and we're not able to change that linkage. Mother and father sometimes spoil whichever child that they want to spoil, and that leads to a sort of breakdown in the family. Later on in the lesson, we'll see that these roles can also be reversed, and sometimes these roles that we don't want the children to play in the house, because if a child eats something, he should be able to take care of whatever utensil he has eaten out of. And that's a part of the role in the family for the children. We also see that one can therefore assume that the role is linked with the status in the family, which is very important. Every child and adult must know the status that they have in the family. So the roles are very important. Now, each role is also unique to each of the individuals. The relationship within the Caribbean family is very important. Now, with the relationship being very important within the Caribbean family, sometimes when you're having a relationship, conflicts will arise and there will be some clash, because sometimes you must agree to disagree. But this conflict should not lead to domestic violence. I know some of the students at home, they're completing their school-based assessment, and probably that's one of the topics they're looking at on domestic violence. Now, in addition to that, you need to realize that the conflict sometimes can affect the children. And if the conflict is affecting the children, it's going to cause problems within the family. Now, besides conflict, we have to look at cooperation. You must have some form of cooperation because the family must move as a unit. It must move as one. Mother, father, and children must work together. They must share the chores in the house. You know that you need to do a bit of raking in the yard. That's your role in the family. You know that you're supposed to wash the dishes, do the laundry. That's your role. Keeping the house clean, getting the car washed. Everybody must be some form of cooperation, some togetherness. That is what we need in the family. Once the family is united, anything can happen. That's how you're going to be educated. Your older sister or older brother can help you with your homework. I've known cases of parents who they don't know nothing about the subject, but they're willing to help their children and sit around the table and learn about it, because they're learning and helping their children whilst they go along. This is the form of cooperation that you need in the family. Now, factors that lead to the breakdown in relationships in the family. The following factors contribute to a breakdown in the relationship in the family. Yes, money is the root of all evil, so says in the Bible. Money can help to solve problems, but money can also create problems. A lot of our DJs have sung about that. Money can't buy you love, believe it or not. The family size and spacing of the children can lead to a breakdown in the family. You realize that some children believe that they will know more than their parents because of the internet age, which we're going to look on a bit later. But also, you have to realize that the spacing of the children sometimes can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Some children will tell you that they have what you call hand-me-downs, because what one child wore previously leads to another child getting that clothing. So it becomes hand-me-downs in textbooks, hand-me-downs in clothing. Now, the inability to carry out one's role is also affected in the family. The sudden change in the composition of the family, the arrival of a new baby. New baby brings envy by the so-called former apples in the eye of their parents. Imagine, just picture this. You had all the attention, and a new baby coming on the scene, that's stealing your star and stealing your thunder. Once you see that happening, that causes a breakdown in the family. And sometimes it causes conflict, and sometimes that conflict can lead to some violence in the family. Now, the traditional male and female roles in the family. The father here chose a construction worker. Father is the breadwinner. He carries home the cash, carries home the food. Bring the money, bring it, come, put it upon the tabletop. That's what the father does. He's also the decision maker. Any decision needs to be made in the house, the buck stops at the father. Father is the last person who will tell you no. Some children, especially the girls, will go to the mother, and when they don't get anything from the mother, they go to the father, because the father is more seen as the softer side to the girls. Now, the father is also the disciplinarian. Father must be able to tell you no and scold you when needed. Children at times need to get time out as punishment and other punishment that is in the household. Now, the traditional male and female roles in the family. For the females, Females are the decision takers. They put whatever the father says into action. They provide counseling and caring. Sit with the child. What's wrong with you? How is this going? So they have the multiple roles. Females are there, the caregivers. As you can see, mother right here with the baby, mother right here, she's multitasking. Got the children doing some of the work for her, but at the same time, she's vacuuming. So she's making sure that as a homemaker, which is another role of the female, she's getting everything all organized in the family. Female is also responsible for socializing. So you have a games evening. Instead of everybody going around their computers or tablets during this time of COVID, the family can plan a games evening. And in that games evening, they can play different games. Popular Jamaican game like Ludo can be played during this time period. Because the female is the homemaker. She's the one who brings everybody together. Now, there are certain roles that are affected by other agents outside of the family. The media is one. Yes, Television Jamaica does provide an outlet into this, giving them a little free ad there. The media provides through its role, through the internet, through radio, magazine, and television, they provide a role for the family because they're the ones who will have articles, television shows, little words of advice. One of Television Jamaica's partners, The Gleaner, through its Flair magazine, does that sometimes where it gives a bit of advice about parenting. Now you look at the imitating of the parents by the children. One of the things in the school world that you'll see, especially at the younger age, the little ones will come out and act out what mommy and dad does at home. So if mommy and dad beats them, teachers will know, principals will know, and the guidance counselor will know because the children act out the roles right there at school. The socializing process also is affected there. Now, with the socializing process affecting there, that's how the children will learn new words. That's how they learn about songs. Just as the terminology that I used earlier on, if a dirt, that's where they learn it from. Now, changing roles of members of the family in the contemporary Caribbean society. Women now have been gaining rights. The Me Too movement put a lot of women to the forefront. But before the Me Too movement, people must realize that from the 1960s and the 1970s, women's rights has become a predominant issue. With women's rights becoming a predominant issue, we have seen, as we stated in our previous lesson 2 weeks ago, where women under the Maternity Leave Act in Jamaica in the 1970s were given maternity leave. Not many first world countries up north have that in their books at all, but we have it right here in Jamaica. There are a lot of laws relating to gender equality that exist in Jamaica before other places in the Caribbean and in the world. Now, there are greater opportunity for employment for women. We see, as you see here, women who are firemen. In Jamaica, some years ago, the Chief Justice was a woman. The Prime Minister was a woman. So we're seeing women taking certain roles that they didn't take before. They're no longer just homemakers at home, sitting at home, cooking, cleaning, making the bun, making the cake. They're now out there in society. We have had women who act as principals for even boys' schools. And we have had women taking other significant roles in our society, which we must realize. The availability and advancement of technology makes it easier for the woman to get things done at home and to get it done at work. During this COVID time period, that's becoming so cliche because everybody's using it, but during this time period, the woman can use technology to get things out there. Washing machine is there, no have to rinse anymore. Microwave is there, but she also uses the laptop. And using the laptop, they get to move things quickly across the world. Family life education and programs. The Ministry of Education, under successive governments since the 1990s, reintroduced family life education programs. These family life education programs make it better for us to formally, in a formal setting, provide education needed for the children, teaching them about what is expected in the family. And once you do that, those children, when they become adults, will now have those goals and objectives inculcated in them already, which is needed. More education choices, as I said, for women. Women now can go as far as being a Prime Minister of Jamaica. They're trying to shatter the glass ceiling, as the sociology students will tell you that they learned that term, where women are taking jobs that were previously dominated by men. Now, women gaining rights in society. Equality allowed change in status. Women are no longer seen as subordinate to men in holding certain jobs. Why? Women are more on an equal par with men. They talk about equal rights and justice. Like I mentioned earlier on, the Me Too movement that exists now helps to put that on the front burner so women aren't abused by men that much. And the domestic violence comes to the front burner as well, because now they can speak out about it. So women's rights, it's very important. And this has helped to change the whole entire scape of the family, because women are realizing that they're on the same footage as men. Now, the greater opportunity for employment. Women are now breadwinners, and they're not seen as subordinates to men, but mere equals and contributing to the financial well-being of the household. Women are carrying in the same amount of cash as men. Recently, some students of mine found out that it's not every country in the Caribbean that a woman who has the same qualification as a man is paid the same. That happens in Jamaica because they're paid based on their qualification, not their gender. And because of that, women have greater opportunities for employment. Women now, you can see them at the tertiary level. You can see them doing technical skills. You can see them picking up the NCT vet. So it's not just a man's world anymore. But as James Brown said, it's a man's world, but it ain't nothing without a woman. Now, the availability of technology, as I alluded to earlier, has brought about changes, because this leads to what you call labor-saving technological devices. Most children, if I tell them about typewriters, where the woman would actually sit down in front and go tip, 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 zzz, and come back across, those things no longer exist because now they have a laptop. We have moved from the textbook to now the laptops, and that makes it easier for them to record anything or type anything. Laptops now can also record lessons, as we see with the Zoom technology and the Google Classroom, that they're now used to record lessons as well. So also women get to have their household chores cut in half because they have the various appliances that will help them to do that. No longer you'll see a woman sitting around a grater and gratering coconuts, but now they're moving from that to now having a blender to do all of that from them. So they've moved from gratering the coconut to have the blender that goes zzz and provides all of that for them. So the chores cut in half, they can do what they need to do, move on in their lives. Advancement in technology means advancement for the women, but also means advancement for the men too. Now, family life education that I spoke of earlier, family planning is a key. Family planning gives women the right to decide when to have children, and it gives them the right to space them out as well. Schools are now encouraged to conduct family life education to prepare children to be better parents and citizens and advance the welfare of the whole human race. Had to put that part in because it speaks to our pledge. But at the same time, family life education, which is now pushed by the Ministry of Education, will help to create the stable society that we want. We talk about values and attitudes. We need to bring the family back and bring it back together. Now, males are in a predicament. The conflict role, boys and young men dropping their pants down and walking like that. That's what we're seeing now. There's a conflict role. Piercing here, piercing there, placing other places. So they're piercing all over, which in the past we know to be what the woman did. But at the same time, you also see the identity crisis that comes up, because how am I trust you if I'm not certain? Because you don't know who is who nowadays, if you get what I'm saying. Also, you look at the marginalization of men. Men really have marginalized themselves. It's not the women who have marginalized them, but the men. Because while some men have sat back on their laurels, the women now have been going further. Now, see, the man's thinking about it. But in the man's thinking about it, the fact that men are no longer certain of their roles in the family. Oh, we have a B here with us on the program. Men are not certain in the family, and hence, even in society, they begin questioning their masculinity and their role in the family. And the men doing that lead to the woman now grasping the situation at hand and taking over. Yes, there's still the old boys network who still are trying to maintain and getting things organized, but the younger generation needs to work out a situation where they can now capture the forefront and coming out of this marginalization. The males aren't certain of their role in society. Men are under pressure to perform. This I remember coming from a program right here on the predecessor of Television Jamaica, JBC, when Agri Irons had a program, and it was said by a famous attorney, men are under pressure to perform. How comes? Men are no longer the sole disciplinarians. They have left it to the women. They have become more involved in shopping. And the women now take over the household and they become the disciplinarians. So how exactly does the changing roles of Caribbean women affect men? Men assist with the chores in the house. Men are more involved in the child rearing activities. You'll see men picking up the children at school. That used to be the role of the woman. The woman used to go to the school, and if the principal or teacher said that you did something wrong, the woman had to go to get the child out, or the woman had to go there to deal with the situation. Men are no longer the sole decision maker for the family, which becomes a thing, because it's the woman now who will suggest to the man, so you're not going to punish him. Yeah, man, you need to give her something to do. She can't stay there and don't do nothing. Punishment needed. So the woman now is suggesting to the man, but it's really her telling him that, yes, this needs to be done. So let's go now into our 15 minutes of multiple choice on Television Jamaica, the only station that's educating you for your CSEC and CAPE examinations. First question. Sharon can be easily identified as the head of the household and makes all their major decisions. This family is described as... Now, when you talk about females, here's a context clue for you. Once you mention the woman, the W means the M. And the M for the male leads you to the P. So woman is M. The man is the P. So that's the clue. So it's matriarchal. Why matriarchal? Matri has to do with the woman. Matriarchal, of the woman. So the woman is the head of the household. Go back to the question. Sharon is the head of the household. and she being the head of a household, can't be a feminist family. Can't be a patriarchal, because patriarchal is the male. Can't be equalitarian, because it's the same footing if it's equalitarian. So it must be matriarchal family. All right, so question 2. Martha and boys and girls, these are practice questions for CSEC exams. As you know, this year you have the multiple choice component that you'll be doing in July. Martha no longer has to remain at home to raise her kids because 1, increased educational opportunities. 2, she has new friends to hang out with. 3, greater choice of employment. 4, her husband is also employed. So CXC is going to give you questions like these, giving you 1, 2, 3, and 4, which you're going to pick 2 or 3 or probably all 4 out of it. And that is going to give you your answer for either A, B, C, and D. As I always tell my students, don't look for just the right answer. A lecturer at UA calls it the rightest answer. So let's look for what's the rightest answer right here. So the rightest answer would be B, 1 and 3 only. Increased educational opportunities, greater choice for employment. Earlier on in the lesson, we look at women going to work. So Martha no longer has to remain at home to raise her kids because she has gotten a chance to be well educated, yes. And now that gives her a greater choice of employment, which is what Martha needs to do. Now, question 3. Traditionally, men are considered to be all of the following except, now this is traditionally, which means the old time sin thing. What used to happen to the men in charge of the house? The men were not considered homemakers. That's a given because the men were considered disciplinarians, the decision maker, the breadwinner. They brought home the money, they brought home the groceries, or they gave the wife the money to purchase the groceries. They would deal with disciplining the child, they deal with major decisions in the home, getting the new car, getting a new house. So the homemaker is the answer. Now question 4. And please realize most of the social studies questions in dealing with the family and in dealing with the responsibilities in the family, they are scenarios. So James and Barbara were recently married and are now considering parenthood. They should not, keyword here, they should not. Not is the key word. Should it be A, be financially prepared, B, be emotionally and psychologically ready, C, post it on Facebook, which is becoming something now with everyone in the world, or D, considering family planning? And the answer would be that they wouldn't be financially prepared. They just got married. And marriage is a huge thing for many people in the Caribbean. You spend a lot and you splurge a lot on the wedding. So they won't be prepared immediately for parenthood right after marriage, in most cases. Now, next question, question 5. The family in which the mother is the central figure of authority is called A. Now, realizing what CXC does, they can change up questions to give you different scenarios. So is it a matrilocal, patrilocal, matricentric, or is it matriarchal? So the answer is matriarchal. You got a similar question earlier on, but it was changed. And this can happen on the same paper, where CXC will give you similar questions, but they change up some things. Now, question 6. The traditional role of men in today's society have changed because A, they're less educated than women. B, men are no longer interested in fatherhood. C, more men are presently unemployed. Or is it D, women are now employed outside of the home. Now, if you realize all these answers could be the answer, but which one is the rightest answer? So the rightest answer right here would be D. Women are now employed outside of the home. Because women now have gained access to the education, and because women also gain that access to education, they see more employable outside of the home, so they no longer stay home and be the homemaker. Question 7. The equality of rights for men and women is supported by which of the following statements? 1. Both men and women should be allowed to vote. 2. Men and women should be paid due to their qualifications and not to their gender. 3. Only when should maintain their traditional roles in the household. So let's see which one is it. Is it A, B, C, or D? The answer is C, 1 and 2. Both men and women should be allowed to vote. That we got in Jamaica in 1944 with the adult suffrage. And men and women should be paid due to their qualifications and not their gender. I spoke of this earlier on when I said that in Jamaica, we're one of the few countries that we actually do that in the Western Hemisphere. Our friends up north, they don't do that. Like I also alluded to you earlier on, also women get maternity leave in Jamaica. It's not something that is readily given by the great countries up north in North America. Now, question 8. The traditional role of Caribbean mothers have changed mainly because women are presently having fewer children than previous generations. B. The nuclear family is now the most common family structure. C. Women are now employed outside of the home. D. Religion plays a greater role in socializing children than their own mothers. So what's the answer here? Answer is C. Women are now employed outside of the home. And here's a second question that CSEC changes up. So you're seeing that the questions can change up, but the answers can remain the same. Now, question 9. In the Caribbean, fathers have accepted more responsibility for child rearing, mainly because of the A. Early death of mothers. B. Increase in the divorce rate. C. Increase in the number of working mothers. D. High unemployment rate amongst most fathers. Look at this question carefully. We're looking at the responsibility of the fathers in the Caribbean. Where do they fall? Something that you need to look at. Are they now taking on child rearing? So, the answer is high unemployment rate amongst most fathers. You find that there's a high unemployment rate amongst most fathers in Jamaica. Now, question 10. Which of the following has contributed most to changes in the traditional role of mothers in the Caribbean? More mothers have jobs outside the home than generations ago. B. Religion plays a greater role than the mother in socializing children. C. The nuclear family has become more widespread than before. Or is it D? Women have fewer children today than generations ago. So let's see what's the answer. More mothers have jobs outside of the home than generations ago. This answer is just something that they added at the end than generations ago because there's been a change now. Women today, they're more qualified, as I said earlier, and because of the qualifications that they have, they get more jobs outside of the home, which is very important. Now, question 11. The main reason why more husbands are now performing household chores is that they prefer to remain at home and assist their wives, or is it B, enjoy using the labor-saving devices in the home, C, get more time off from work than their wives, or is it D, are responding to the changing roles of family members? New society, things change. So, what's the answer here? Answer here is that they're responding to the changing roles of family members. What you see is that husbands need, or the men in our society need to adapt to the changes. We all need to, as members of a family. We all must adapt to the changes that exist in our society today. If we don't adapt to these changes, we're going to be left behind. And as one American president said, no child must be left behind. But as I will tell you, we shouldn't leave anybody behind. We all need to go forward, forever united in Jamaica. Now, question 12, we're wrapping up pretty soon, last two questions. Which of the following statements support the idea of equal rights for men and women? See, I tell you, CSEC give you a lot of these questions with choices for A, B, C, D, but they give you a lot of choices here. So here are one of the choices, or three of the choices for you to look at. Men and women who do the same jobs should get the same pay. 2, men and women should maintain traditional roles in the family. 3, men and women should be allowed to share in national decision making. Now, how are you going to choose out of this? Which ones are you going to choose? Is it all 3 as in D? Or is it 2 and 3 as in C? Or is it 1 and 3 as in B? Or is it A, 1 and 2 only? So the answer here is got to be 1 and 3, all of them. Because men and women who do the same job should get the same pay. I said this earlier on because that's what happens in our country. Men and women should maintain their traditional roles in the family. Should. But we need to look at that because the man needs to be the head of the household. Man needs to be the firm person in the household making the decisions. And that's what we need to do. We need to get the family back, bring it back together. Men and women should be allowed to share in national decision making. In this COVID time, it has become necessary for all of us in our nation to have something to say. And we've seen that through the usage of social media or direct platforms. Here at Radio Jamaica, we can see that they do it on hotline, whether it's with Emily or the other 2 male presenters on hotline. Now, last question. The best reason for the promotion of family planning in the Caribbean is to A, ensure a balance in the numbers between male and female babies. B, allow persons to have sexual relationships with chosen partners. C, give parents control over the number and spacing of the birth of their children. Or is it D, teach parents to supervise the activities of their children? Now the answer here is to teach parents to supervise the activities of their children. Parents need to supervise their children. Very important in the family. And now as we wrap up, I'm going to encourage you boys and girls out there, review this lesson, work with your teachers, make sure you complete your SBAs. That's all today for CSEC Social Studies. We hope that you grasp all the points that we discussed. Until next time, I'm Christopher Humber.